nanotechnology and what people think about this technology and how it can be utilized. First, let us hear what people think about nanotechnology.
What is nanotechnology, Diana?
Okay, so personally, I'm not educated in nanotechnology, but common sense, nano means small. So I'm assuming that nanotechnology is like small technology that can be used in medicine and like the business world. Especially, I know that it's really good in the field of medicine, especially in helping people with internal diseases.
Armina,
Yes?
from your own experiences, what do you think nanotechnology is?
Nanotechnology? I think nanotechnology is related to science and technology.
My name is Jericho Tamayo. So what is nanotechnology? Basically, from the word itself, nanotechnology, it means small. So, an example of it that we all use is yung sa SIM card. Nano na SIM card, which is maliit. And another example is yung nag-clear sa blood clot na bagong technology.
So, what are the common misconceptions for nanotechnology?
Pag sinabi mo sa iba na nanotechnology, isipin agad nila si Tony Stark tsaka si Transformers. Kala nila gano'n na gano'n ka-advance, pero hindi pa gano'n ka-advance yung nanotechnology sa era natin ngayon.
So, how has nanotechnology, what do you call this, influenced the Philippines?
Siyempre, sa mga development sa new health-related technologies, like yung sa pag-clear nga ng blood clot, since maraming high blood dito sa Pilipinas and matataas ang cholesterol.
So, what do you think what do you think is the significance of nanotechnology?
Sa
In general.
Siyempre yung nanotechnology, malaking tulong yun. Lalo na pag pinag-usapan natin na pag pinagsama-sama yung maliliit, ibig sabihin mas mababawasan ng time sa pag-manufacture ng mga gamit. Kasi mas magiging easily customized through technology yung mga bagay.
So, for your opinion, anong tingin mong best way to, what do you call this, parang mas gawing mainstream yung nanotechnology? I mean, mas available sa tao, sa masses, sa public.
Siyempre, pag nanotechnology kasi mahal yun. So, inisip ko na damihan yung mas gagawa ng mga nanotechnology para maging available siya sa market. Tapos, ibenta siya sa medyo mas affordable na price.
Parang sa mga electric cars.
Parang sa electric cars.
So, for you, how do you think na ma-apply sa buhay mo ang nanotechnology, or how can you use nanotechnology?
Nanotechnology. Sa naisip ko sa cellphone. So yun, yung mga cellphone natin may mga nanotechnology rin yun sa LCD and sa SIM card gamit nga natin. So yun, nakakatulong yun sa pagbilis ng pagkuha ng mga information sa online and pag-view ng mga images. Yun.
Okay, thank you. So, for you, Vince, what do you know about nanotechnology?
I honestly don't know anything about nanotechnology except, I think I've seen it in movies such as Iron Man or something like that.
What you guys saw from the previous videos, there are a lot of unclear insights about nanotechnology. For everyone to further understand nanotechnology, here is a video from Risk Bites. Wow, that was great. Now that we have a clear understanding of nanotechnology, we now know that it's a manipulation of matter on an atomic or molecular scale. To open up a new topic about nanotechnology, we have Sir Edwin Legado to give his insights on how nanotechnology might have evolved in the recent years.
Okay, so I'm Edwin Legado, currently the HPE Globe Cloud Operation Lead. So, what is nanotech? Nanotech is, on my own word, is forging, exposing, creating a technology or system or device into a smaller technology. Next question. What are the common misconceptions of nanotechnology? Answer. Probably the most misconception for nanotechnology will be in the field of medicine. Saying nanotech will be the answer to all the disease that grows on this earth. Next question. In simple terms, can you please explain your field of study and how nanotech evolved? In my field, especially in the computer world, imagine if nanotech is not present. We will have a data center as huge as a ship. Since CPUs, RAM, and storage was forged to a nanotechnology to some extent, parts became so small as we have right now. A good example will be your mobile phone. We call it smartphone in a simple terms. It's a functioning computer with CPU, RAM, and storage. Next question. How has nanotech evolved in recent years in the Philippines and outside the Philippines? I'm no expert in nanotech, much more its involvement in the Philippines and outside. What I can say is since Philippines is still an agricultural country, we are hoping that nanotechnology will be more involved in this area. I've seen in one of the videos that a robot is uprooting a weed in a field, which I am sure that robot is forged in nanotech one way or the other. Outside of the Philippines, well, it's a big playing field that everyone wants their hands on it. Next question. What are some significant important nanotech advances that happened in recent years? Answer. Well, try to imagine your mobile phone without the nanotechnology. You cannot put your phone in your pants pocket while strolling in the mall, playing your favorite game in your iPad whenever you want. Next question. In your opinion, in which field study can nanotech will have a significant effect? Answer. I'm sure nanotechnology will be a significant in all areas of our life. Since the world we live in is getting smaller by the minute. End of the
Nice.
video.
Now that we know, without nanotechnology, our data would be as big as a ship with tons of information comprised in nanotech. Now, next, we have Sir Mario Domingo from Cambridge to talk about nanotechnology.
My name is Mario Domingo, born and raised in the United States. I went to school at the University of Southern California with a double master's degree in finance and economics. I'm the founder and the chief technology officer and president of a nonprofit technology laboratory called Domingo AI Research Center. That is a partnership between the University of the Philippines, Los Baños, and my and Dark Lab. And what we do is we look at technologies like AI, nanotechnology, and genomics as a way to bring universal healthcare to the Filipino people and to the rest of the world. Universal healthcare is about bringing inclusivity by providing innovation and technology onto healthcare such that the poor people can have access, because the poor people are the ones that needs it the most, and they're the ones typically who don't have access to healthcare. Um, I went to work for the U.S. Department of Defense, and I became a software developer over there. Spent 20 years, and then after I finished there, I went on to move to work for Globe Telecom, where we built innovations and products over there. And after 10 years, I decided to go into entrepreneurship. And so Dark Lab is my own personal advocacy around healthcare and how I could hopefully help the poor people of the Philippines and the world.
So what is nanotechnology?
Nanotechnology is basically the science, engineering, and technology in manipulating atoms, molecules, or submolecular particles and trying to get the most out of them and creating new material or solutions from it. A good way to describe nanotechnology comes from a good analogy of like some common items like maybe a drinking glass or a cell phone or a t-shirt. A drinking glass, it's got nice properties, right? The properties is that I can see right through it, I can see what's in its content, it's nice to hold, the feeling is great. T-shirt's the same thing for the obvious reasons that it clothes you, you can print on it, it's great. And the phone, right? But they also have stuff we don't like about them. They have properties like batteries that run out too fast for cell phones. You have a glass that breaks when they fall, and a t-shirt that stinks after a while if you've been wearing them, right? So wouldn't it be nice if you had a t-shirt that doesn't stink? It always smells clean. What about a glass that falls and doesn't break? Or a battery that lasts a long, long time? Nanotechnology allows you to take the good properties from existing matter or organisms, and you are able to manipulate and reassemble them in a manner that uses only the best parts of its properties.
What are the common misconceptions about nanotechnology?
Well, the most common misconception of nanotechnology is Iron Man. So Iron Man is he's wearing a T-shirt or something like that, or he presses something in his watch, and his watch will activate some nanoparticles that will pull atoms from the air and start assembling the rest of the suit of armor, right? And somehow the watch contains the map or the blueprint of the suit, and the nanoparticles just go draws all the materials needed out of thin air. We are lifetimes away from such a thing. Another example is Star Trek, where in Star Trek you have a replicator, and what you do is you press the replicator for coffee, and then it creates a cup, and it's got coffee in it, and it's hot already. Basically, pulling atoms out of thin air and reassembling it. That's the concept of nanotechnology, but we are lifetimes away from getting there.
So in your field, can you explain how nanotech is involved?
All right. So I specifically are focused in the healthcare technology space, whether it's genomics, editing DNA, or whether it's artificial intelligence that looks to understand why certain diseases behave a certain way, or one specific section of my lab that studies nanotechnology. In that case, what we're doing is we're developing nanotechnology to cure cancer. Cancer has obviously been around for thousands of years. We still haven't solved it. Many people are trying to solve cancer, and we still haven't solved it. Would you like me to walk you through how we're solving it, or is that a subsequent question?
No, sure.
All right,
Yeah.
so we have to turn it, just make sure it's recording. So let me start with cancer detection. right? So first, typically when you are suspected of having cancer, what they're going to do is they'll do a biopsy, and it's very uncomfortable. It's very invasive because they will get a piece of your tissue, and that tissue has to be large enough to produce a slide that will show where the cancer cells are. So at the current technology, what happens is that slide will have a lot of noise in it, and the naked eye would not be able to detect where is the cancer. We have to put it through either magnetic resonance imaging or some other use of reagents or chemicals or some technique to detect the cancer. And typically using those techniques, that's when we will start finding cancer. And cancer is typically represented by the color brown. So when you see brown spots in any of this imaging technology today, from that slide, you will find those brown. The problem is if you had a tissue, like a big tissue, and that's why you need a lot of tissue, you have to create as many slides out of that tissue as you can in order to find the cancer. And if you can't find the cancer but the symptoms are still there, you have to go again and get another piece of the tissue. So it's very invasive, very uncomfortable. What we are able to do though is using nanotechnology, what we do is we create nanoparticles. And so what is a nanoparticles? Using our engineering technology, we are able to pull out atoms and reassemble those atoms that behave like imaging agents. Those imaging agents attach themselves into the cells, and when they come in contact with a cancerous cell, it illuminates. But it illuminates in different spectrum. And because it illuminates in different spectrum, we detect more than brown. And each property of the cancer is represented by a color. So this one will represent one property of the cancer, this one another property of the culture, all coming out of one slide and out of one biopsy. So the potential value of this is, if you know as today, what you have is stage 1, 2, 3 cancer, but actually these stages, they're very objective. Depending on who the doctor is, it would be the stage of cancer you're in. That's why you get a second opinion, a third opinion, whenever you get a stage 3 or a stage 4 cancer, for example. However, real cancer is mathematically granular in between each stage. So what this approach that we're working on in the laboratory today allows you to give us imaging of each cancer cell that allows us to score with finer granularity. And what it does, net effect, less biopsy, more accurate targeting of treatment like chemotherapy, because chemotherapy today is like an atom bomb. It destroys other organisms, your endurance against chemicals are weakened. Same thing with radiation, the rest of your body is radiated. Not only did it kill the cancer, it's also damaging other organs.
So how far along are we in finding out about it?
So the vision is for us to build a drug package. The drug package will be made out of 3 components. The first component is a targeting agent. The targeting agent is, for lack of a better word, searches and binds the drug package to the cancer cell. So this targeting agent is basically atoms and molecules bound together to behave like that of a cell that will begin to to follow the osmosis process. So it will bind itself. So it's a targeting mechanism. Not working on that right now. What we have is a theoretical framework. So this is where we're working on right now, which is the imaging agent. So basically we use quantum dots or some technique to try to illuminate the cancer cell the moment it's bound to the cell. So this imaging agent, we are already two prototypes passed, and we think we're very, very close to what I think can translate to the clinic. The last one is the drug treatment. So basically this drug treatment are again atoms and molecules that behaves in the same way or creates a chemical that specifically targets the cell, so that this drug package to other cells is just another cell. So if it's a cancerous cell and this is the good cell, it behaves like as if it's one of the other cells. But this cell is different because we designed this thing. We designed it to behave. Now, it's ingestible because it acts like a bioorganism. When it's finished doing its job, or if it didn't do its job, you will just either sweat it off, or pee it off, or poop it off.
So why would, if you're like close to the imaging agent, is it not reasonable to have like it's be it by itself, like without the targeting or
Yeah,
the drug?
yeah. So imaging agent will help in diagnostics, right? So the key purpose of the imaging agent is diagnostics, and even at that, there would be value to medicine, because what it would do is, if it's looking for a specific something inside, whether it's in an organ or whether it's in the bloodstream, you put it there and it will illuminate it. And just like I explained here, you'll be able to illuminate it not just in one big blob of color of brown or black or gray or anything, but I'll be able to show a different spectrum of the cell. So yes, it can, but ultimately what you want to do is treat
of course.
it.
How has nanotech evolved in recent years in the Philippines?
So a lot of the nanotech work is being done on the research side. I know that there's a stream that's working on with the Department of Science and Technology. There's a research stream there. I think the UP Manila is also doing research there, but not much translation to industry or medicine or any of the industries today. Still on research.
What are some significant nanotech advances that have happened in recent years?
In my opinion, and I just remember this, is solar panels is one of them. The other one is, so we know better now how photosynthesis works, and photosynthesis is basically the process of harvesting solar energy. Everything, actually, if you think about it, everything on Earth harnesses solar energy. You eat solar energy because what happens is solar energy fuels the plants, and the plants are eaten by the animal, and then you eat the animal, and it's all solar energy, right? So one place where nanotechnology has gotten good at is in the manufacturing of solar panels. They're able to harness the right combination of atoms and molecules to create material in the solar panels such that the solar cells last longer, is able to convert electricity more effectively. And I imagine that in the next 3 to 5 years, solar energy will be the most prolific form of energy there is, barring any legislative or regulatory issues.
Okay. So
Another area that I just thought about when we were talking about is quantum computing. So the good properties about computers and servers is that computers and servers they compute, they do it well. That's, but the bad properties is they get hot too soon, and they are limited by the speed by which that they move, because the materials that make them up will melt if you make them any faster. So quantum computing is the creation of materials for the creation of this hardware that will make it heat resistant, will allow it to spin at faster speeds, and therefore be able to deliver better computing than what we have
today. How has nanotech impacted human society?
Not yet. There's a lot of work done on nanotechnology in terms of how it will help people, from development of new materials, materials that can be used to manufacture things so that they are cheaper, has longer endurance, more power efficient. They can be used for healthcare to solve all kinds of health problems. Nanotechnology can potentially change our planet, but unlike some of the latest innovations in technology, this one is not moving as fast as the others because it requires certain multidisciplinary expertise such as physics and biology and engineering, and you don't have those kinds of people in abundance all over the world.
So how is nanotech in this country being used as?
I don't see nanotech being used at scale, although I imagine that the manufacturing industries here probably manufacture things using nanotech, but the raw material still probably comes from the likes of the United States and Europe.
Okay. So in the Asian region, who are the nanotech leaders?
That would be Japan, would probably be the leader, followed by South Korea, China, Hong Kong, Singapore, but definitely Japan being the leader.
So does the Philippines benefit in any way from them being the leaders?
At the current, no. The majority of our brightest minds are in Cambridge. They're in Harvard. They're in Cal Poly. They're in different places. They're not here in the Philippines. Even my nanotechnology stream, there's only 2 guys there, and the other 4 are in different countries.
So as the US and like Europe are the ones that's leading the charge
Yes.
in nanotechnology?
Yes, it will be the United States leading the charge. There are others who are also doing very well. Europe is coming very strong on nanotechnology, and some small countries that are surprising, like New Zealand, is advancing the work on nanotechnology.
So as far as nanotech has come, do you think it's in its development stage?
It's a pre-development stage in the Philippines because a lot of the work is theoretical frameworks and research and stuff. And I would imagine that currently not many are ready to commercialize it. A lot of the work is stuck in the laboratories, and it would take somebody like you guys to go raid the laboratories and try to make commercial value of what those are.
So why are reasons that it stays in the laboratory and not being commercialized?
It is the nature of research, right? Researchers are typically academic people who are not interested in becoming rich or or producing something. They're interested in the intellectual exercise of solving a problem. So what happens is they will come up with an idea, they will raise the funds to do the research, they do the research, they're successful, they write a paper, they publish the paper, and then they drink a beer and they're happy. So what happens is a lot of their research stays there in the bench, it stays in the laboratory, it doesn't get to see the light of day.
Now that we have a better and a more precise understanding about nanotechnology, thanks to Sir Domingo, let us now see what are the next steps in nanotechnology and see how dynamic it can be. Let us watch this TED Talk by Mr. George Tulveski.
Let's imagine a sculptor building a statue, just chipping away with his chisel. Michelangelo had this elegant way of describing it when he said, every block of stone has a statue inside of it, and it's the task of the sculptor to discover it. But what if he worked in the opposite direction? Not from a solid block of stone, but from a pile of dust, somehow gluing millions of these particles together to form a statue. Well, I know that's an absurd notion. It's probably impossible. The only way you get a statue from a pile of dust is if the statue built itself. If somehow we could compel millions of these particles to come together to form the statue. Now, as odd as that sounds, that is like almost exactly the problem I work on in my lab. I don't build with stone, I build with nanomaterials. They are these just impossibly small, fascinating little objects. They're so small that if this controller was a nanoparticle, a human hair would be the size of this entire room. And they're at the heart of a field we call nanotechnology, which I'm sure we've all heard about, and we've all heard how it is going to change everything. You know, when I was a graduate student, it was one of the most exciting times to be working in nanotechnology. There were scientific breakthroughs happening all of the time. The conferences were buzzing. There was tons of money pouring in from funding agencies. And the reason is, when objects get really small, they're governed by a different set of physics that govern ordinary objects, like the ones we interact with. We call this physics quantum mechanics. And what it tells you is that you can precisely tune their behavior just by making seemingly small changes to them, like adding or removing a handful of atoms or twisting the material. It's like this ultimate toolkit. You really felt empowered. You felt like you could make anything. And we were doing it. And by we, I mean, my whole generation of graduate students. We were trying to make blazing fast computers using nanomaterials. We were constructing quantum dots that could one day go in your body and find and fight disease. There were even groups trying to make an elevator to space using carbon nanotubes. You can look that up, that's true. Anyways, we thought it was going to affect all parts of science and technology, from computing to medicine. And I have to admit, I drank all of the Kool-Aid. I mean, every last drop. But that was like 15 years ago. And so fantastic science was done, really important work. We've learned a lot. But we were never able to translate that science into new technologies, into technologies that could actually impact people. And the reason is, these nanomaterials, they're like a double-edged sword. The same thing that makes them so interesting, their small size, also makes them like impossible to work with. It's literally like trying to build a statue out of a pile of dust. And we just don't have the tools that are small enough to work with them. But even if we did, it wouldn't really matter, because we couldn't one by one place millions of particles together to build a technology. So because of that, all of the promise and all of the excitement has remained just that, promise and excitement. We don't have any disease-fighting nanobots, there's no elevators to space, and the thing that I'm most interested in, no new types of computing. Now that last one, that's a really important one. We just have come to expect the pace of computing advancements to go on indefinitely. We've built entire economies on this idea. And this pace exists because of our ability to pack more and more devices onto a computer chip. And as those devices get smaller, they get faster, they consume less power, and they get cheaper. And it's this convergence that gives us this incredible pace. As an example, if I took the room-sized computer that sent 3 men to the moon and back and somehow compressed it, okay? Compressed like the world's greatest computer of its day, so it was the same size as your smartphone, your actual smartphone, that thing you spend $300 on and just toss out every 2 years, would blow this thing away. Like, you would not be impressed. It couldn't do anything that your smartphone does. It would be slow. You couldn't put any of your stuff on it. You could possibly get through like the first 2 minutes of a Walking Dead episode if you're lucky. The point is, the progress, it's not gradual. The progress is relentless. It's exponential. It compounds on itself year after year, to the point where if you compare a technology from one generation to the next, they're like almost unrecognizable. And we owe it to ourselves to keep this progress going. We want to say the same thing 10, 20, 30 years from now. Look what we've done over the last 30 years. Yet we know this progress may not last forever. In fact, the party's kind of winding down. It's like last call for alcohol, right? If you look under the covers, by many metrics, like speed and performance, the progress has already slowed to a halt. So if we want to keep this party going, we have to do what we've always been able to do, and that is to innovate. So our group's role and our group's mission is to innovate by employing carbon nanotubes, because we think that they can provide a path to continue this pace. They are, just like they sound, they're tiny, hollow tubes of carbon atoms, and their nanoscale size, that small size, gives rise to these just outstanding electronic properties. And the science tells us if we could employ them in computing, we could see up to a 10 times improvement in performance. It's like skipping through several technology generations in just one step. So there we have it. We have like this really important problem, and we have what is basically the ideal solution. The science is like screaming at us, like, this is what you should be doing to solve your problem. But so it's like, all right, let's get started, let's do this. But then you just run right back into that double-edged sword. This ideal solution contains a material that's like impossible to work with. I'd have to arrange billions of them just to make one single computer chip. It's that same conundrum. It's like this undying problem. So at this point, we said, let's just stop. Let's not go down that same road. Let's just figure out, like, what's missing. right? What are we not dealing with? What are we not doing that needs to be done? It's like in The Godfather, right? When Fredo betrays his brother Michael, like we all know what needs to be done. I mean, Fredo's got to go. But Michael, he puts it off. And like, fine, I get it. Their mother's still alive. It would make her upset. But we just said, like, what's the Fredo in our problem? Like, what are we not dealing with? What are we not doing but needs to be done to make this a success? And the answer is that the statue has to build itself. We have to find a way somehow to compel, to convince billions of these particles to assemble themselves into the technology. Okay, we can't do it for them. They have to do it for themselves. And it's the hard way. I mean, this is not trivial. But in this case, it's the only way. Now, as it turns out, this is not that alien of a problem. Okay? We just don't build anything this way, right? People don't build anything this way. But if you look around, and there's examples everywhere, Mother Nature builds everything this way. Everything is built from the bottom up, right? You can go to the beach. You'll find these simple organisms that use proteins, just basically molecules to template what is essentially sand, just plucking it from the sea and building these extraordinary architectures with extreme diversity. And nature's not crude like us, just hacking away. I mean, she's elegant and smart, building with what's available, molecule by molecule, making structures with a complexity and a diversity that we can't even approach. And she's already at the nano. She's been there for hundreds of millions of years. We're the ones that are late to the party. So we decided we're going to use the same tool that nature uses, and that's chemistry. Chemistry is the missing tool, and chemistry works in this case because these nanoscale objects are about the same size as molecules, so we can use them to steer these objects around, much like a tool. That's exactly what we've done in our lab. We've developed chemistry that goes into the pile of dust, into the pile of nanoparticles, and pulls out exactly the ones we need. Then we can use chemistry to arrange literally billions of these particles into the pattern we need to build circuits. And because we can do that, we can build circuits that are many times faster than what anyone's been able to make using nanomaterials before. Chemistry is a missing tool, and every day our tool gets sharper and gets more precise. And eventually, and we hope this is within a handful of years, we can deliver on one of those original promises. Now, computing is just one example. It's the one that I'm interested in, that my group is really vested in, but there are others in renewable energy, in medicine, in structural materials, where the science is going to tell you to move towards the nano. That's where the biggest benefit is. But if we're going to do that, the scientists of today and tomorrow are going to need new tools just like the ones I described. And the beauty of science, and they're going to need chemistry, is the point. They will need chemistry. And the beauty of science is that once you develop these new tools, they're out there. I mean, they're out there forever, and anyone, anywhere can pick them up and use them and help to deliver on the promise of nanotechnology. So thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it.
The future is really bright with the help of nanotechnology. Now that we have covered the main essence of what nanotechnology is, let us focus on the Philippines. Let us watch this video from Game Changer to see how this applies.
Nanotechnology. Technology at the tiniest, with the biggest potential in so many fields. An app that needs no data plans nor an internet connection. And it can save your life when the next disaster strikes. And the old business of buying and selling, given an online twist. Nano in nanotechnology means a billionth of a meter. To put this in perspective, a newspaper page is about 100,000 nanometers thick. A human hair, 100,000 nanometers in diameter. Yes, in nanotechnology, we are talking about measurements in the realm of atoms and molecules. A clear paint that reduces heat and damage caused by sunlight. A nanoelectric nose that can detect spoiled meat. And tiny particles that can directly target cancer cells in the body. All products of wishful thinking? Not anymore, thanks to nanotechnology. Dr. Gil Nonato Santos, chairman of the De La Salle University Physics Department, is one of the scientists harnessing nanotechnology in the country.
Nanotechnology, yung from the word nano, is meaning very, very small. In fact, hindi mo siya makikita eh. Yung technology itself is how do you develop these nano-sized materials to make it functional. Maraming possibilities. You have to first make the nanocrystal, the nanomaterials. After that, you look for a particular application and to make it functional for food, for energy, for health.
Nanotech goes down to the atomic level to develop products that have better sensitivity and concentration to yield maximum benefits. The NanoNose is a nanosensor that can detect spoiled meat. This includes botcha,
A gas coming out from the spoiled meat and inject that to our nanosensor. After which, you have a voltmeter or an LED connected to the device, and the detection is by the LED blinking.
As of now, inspectors have to manually sniff the meat to detect spoilage.
It's all subjective. You don't have any scientific reading to detect or to determine if it is spoiled. That's why we are making this electronic nano-nose sensor to be able to produce scientific reports based on the meat spoilage detection.
From nanotechnology in food, we go to various applications in construction and architecture, from residential and commercial, and even industrial use. Intense heat and ultraviolet or UV rays are bad for businesses, residences, and even the preservation of items of value. Before, tints were the solution to UV rays, but entrepreneur Edmund Lee had a different idea.
Nanocoat essentially is a clear and colorless paint developed specially for glass use. Once your glass is coated with the nanocoat, you can still allow sunlight to come in, but you can block heat and UV from entering.
They also invented a unique way of application that even foreigners are eager to learn.
The curtain painting technique is something that we developed. And the flow is very smooth, the finish is very clean. When we recover all this excess nanocoat, we can reprocess it and reuse it later, just like new. These savings now, we can give back to our clients, and we are able to come up with a very affordable pricing.
The nanocoat is a versatile product with varied benefits. It gives one a clear view as it maintains 76% visible light transmission while reducing glare by 26.7%. It blocks around 86% of UV rays. This not only keeps the room cooler, it also protects the people and objects inside. Tied to this is the huge savings generated from lower utility costs. At the Hyundai showroom in Santa Rosa, Laguna, the nanocoat has become a valuable aid in preserving the quality of cars.
Yung harmful UV rays of the sun na pumapasok sa showroom is being avoided. So, na-maintain na mint condition yung paint ng brand new vehicles on display. Yung desired temperature nga ng showroom for customers coming in to see the units, achieved then through the nanocoat.
And in just a short span of time, they were able to recover their initial investment and generate considerable savings.
We used to use 6 na 5-tonner na split-type aircon units. Ngayon, siguro 3 or 4 na lang. Approximately, we saved about 80 to 90,000 for 1 year.
The DLSU library is home to the works of some of our national artists, including those of F. Shunil Jose, the National Artist for Literature.
F. Shunil Jose collection, composed of books, mostly books and manuscripts, artworks, and posters. Doon siya sa side kung saan matindi yung sikat ng araw. Mabilis na magde-deteriorate yung condition ng mga manuscripts.
These cultural gems also fall prey to the harmful effects of the sun.
Ito ang nanocoat. Mas secured na yung feeling namin na hindi na masisira yung collection namin. Tapos yung family din, mas masaya sila kasi assured sila na protected yung collection ng father nila.
Preserving the treasures of the past is one thing. But progress is also about looking forward into the future. The Department of Science and Technology recognizes this and established its own nanotechnology program.
We established in July 1 of 2014 a DOST-ITDI Nanotech Laboratory. In 2012, we released this nanotechnology prospect and priorities. This is a 5-year roadmap, and this becomes the basis for our research and development.
They work with the private sector and the academe in formulating the country's path in maximizing the use of this emerging technology.
We have developed already a few products for the industry. Quantum dots is used as a tool to locate the cancer or the tumor inside the body. For example, holocyte nanotubes, you could use it to direct delivery of the medicine to the tumor.
The department also houses a laboratory featuring state-of-the-art equipment. It is open for entrepreneurs, students, and other agencies who wish to wade their feet in the nano venture.
We focus our research on developing nanotechnology products using indigenous materials. The objective of our nanotech lab is to provide technical services for the industry and the academe.
Experts themselves have said it. Nanotechnology has changed the game in different fields of expertise. Nano-based solar cells for charging devices on the go, to nano-based skincare products, and the nanorobots that can deliver drugs through the bloodstream. Name it, the possibilities are endless.
Thank you all for watching our documentary about nanotechnology. We hope you have learned a lot and gained a lot of knowledge. Let us all strive for the betterment of our society through nanotechnology. See you all next time.